One of the world's most famous buildings, the Empire State in New York, is marking its 90th birthday. Celebrations at the tower will include a special light show and the number 90 illuminated on its famous mast that King Kong clung to in that famous final scene from the film. When the Empire State opened on the 1st of May 1931, it was the tallest building in the world. Since then, it's become one of New York's must-see attractions that, in pre-pandemic times, welcomed more than 4 million visitors every year. Well, I'm joined now by John Toranac, who's the author of The Empire State Building, The Making of a Landmark. John, thanks so much for being with us. It might not be the tallest building in the world, but it's still very meaningful, isn't it?
Oh, certainly. The Empire State Building, as far as I'm concerned, is the icon of New York City, even to the point where New York State used to have images of the Empire State Building on automobile license plates. That's how meaningful it is to New Yorkers.
And it meant a lot to the people who built it, because I suppose 1931, you're talking about a year of Great Depression and very few jobs.
Yes, the building was planned in the boom of the 1920s to open in the bust of the 1930s. And fortunately for the planners and builders of the Empire State Building, there was some hope on the horizon. You talked about visitors to the Empire State Building. Well, there were 2 observation decks, one open on the 86th floor and the other enclosed on the 102nd. And people were willing to part with their admission fee to go up and see the sights. But rentals were sparse. There really wasn't any elevator service between the 25th and 80th floors. Because there was nobody there. There was no occupancy. And the management used to turn the lights on the empty floors just to try to fool people into believing that there were actually tenants in occupying those floors. The building came to be called the Empty State Building.
And for those who built it, I suppose the construction workers, the engineers, it would have been the one big project that they could go to at that time.
Absolutely. There were stories that are probably apocryphal, but never let a bad fact get in the way of a good story. People said that the steel that was arriving from the Carnegie steel mills in Pittsburgh was still warm when it arrived. It had been shipped out that quickly and that readily because few other buildings were going up. So many buildings had been planned and had simply been taken off the drawing board, as it were.
But one other building that was going up, the Chrysler Building, there was a bit of a race here, wasn't there? Who's going to be the biggest?
Yes, well, actually, the race started between 40 Wall Street, the Bank of Manhattan building, and the Chrysler Building. And the Chrysler Building announced that they were knocking off at, 875, 900 feet. So the Bank of Manhattan building put a crown on the top of their building, topped out at 925 feet. And Chrysler just sort of snubbed his nose at them and said, yeah, and kept on going. And with the addition of the spire, the stainless steel Art Deco spire on the Chrysler Building, it took the height of the building to 1,046 feet. It was the first building taller than the Eiffel Tower. The Empire State Building had been progressively getting higher, and they had determined to knock off at 80 stories or 1,000 feet, in large part because of the Otis Elevator Company, which told them that cables any higher than or any longer than 1,000 feet would simply collapse under their own weight.
John, we have to leave it there. We know that the Empire State Building made it, and it's still a beautiful thing to see. Thank you so much for your time.